everyone, and welcome back to Here Be Dragons. I am your host, Stephen Stark. With me, as always, my trusty co-host, John Webster from John Webster Film. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
You know, I'm happy to be talking about one of my favorite shows of all time.
Oh, is it? I didn't know.
Yep, it's in my top 5 list.
See, I was worried when I picked this for a discussion. I thought you were kind of indifferent to it. So.
Yeah, shut up. Stop trolling. Stop trolling me. But yeah, I pretty famously, unabashedly love this show. And yeah, season 1, we did that review like a month ago, and like you were pretty positive on the show overall. So yeah. I'm really curious, 2 seasons in now, where are you at? Where are you at with this show?
It all went downhill, man.
Yeah, sure.
Downhill.
Sure. Sophomore slump.
Yeah, I think that, in line with what a lot of people say, I think season 1 is turning out to be the best season. Sorry, I am just in a mood today. What can I say? And also, sorry, my throat is going a little dry all of a sudden, but no, I really enjoyed season 2, and it went to some dark places that I found kind of shocking for a kids, animated series. And yeah, and then there's Toph, who is pretty much. I'm guessing, like you said, that your favorite character and hadn't been introduced yet. I think I can guess that that maybe and this is the character you were talking about. I think the background maybe gives it away.
Could be.
Like, she was just fantastic. Like, as soon as she showed up in her first episode, I was like, oh, this is going to be a really good character.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It's funny how towards the end of the season, I felt like it was almost like the inverse of season 1, because in season 1 we go to the water, was it a kingdom or
it's the water tribes, northern water tribe,
the northern water tribe, and it's just like, there were some characters who needed some, shall we say, correcting in their attitudes, but it was very idyllic and just like you come away from season 1 feeling like, no, I want to stay there. That's a wonderful place. And then with season 2, we end up in Ba Sing Se.
In Ba Sing Se. Do you know the way to Ba Sing Se? Because the girls in the city, they look so pretty.
But it's like, just like Toph says, worst city ever. And so, like I said, it's kind of the inverse of that, and especially since there's victory at the end of season 1, they lose the Earth Kingdom at the end of season 2. So it's really nice, like, looking at the two.
Yeah, it all kind of just goes sideways at the end, doesn't it?
Yeah,
in a real reversal of what you might expect from more children's targeted programming. Like, they really went a long way towards making Zuko very sympathetic, making you understand who he is at his core, and really sort of taking some time to highlight his good qualities, and even giving him a situation in which he's like, I have found another life that I can be happy with.
And then they crush you.
Because what he never got to was, I reject the thing that I used to want. He hasn't turned his back on the things he wanted. He just was willing to be content without them.
Yeah. I was really and I realize the story is not over yet, and I have a feeling that you know, things may yet progress in a different way based on things I've heard. But
Right.
I was really met with a crushing sense of disappointment in him at the end of this season. Because, yeah, his character arc was so fantastic throughout the season. And so, like, it was great just to see, you know, him travel from, you know, who he was last season, and it's this sort of gradual arc that it feels so natural, and the ground is well laid out, and then at the end, like, I had a feeling of which way it would turn, and I was like, don't do it. But yeah, he's not there yet. I hope he gets there.
But it's a heck of a, and I kind of want to, like, we'll touch on some more specific episode stuff, but while we're on the subject of Zuko, just his arc this season really kind of makes him feel like a secondary main character.
Yeah.
Because he's also pitted against the main new antagonist, his sister Azula, who, let's face it, is terrifying.
What a great character. You know, I mean, I just, yeah, I'll admit, like, throughout season 1, like, Zuko was the antagonist, and I got that they were setting him up to have a really great arc, but you just kind of wanted to smack him at several turns, whereas I feel like Azula is a really great, you know, villain, and just, like, you know, chews up the scenery in such a great way.
Well, she definitely demands that you pay attention to her.
Yeah, and I love her troop.
May and Tylee, who, let's be honest, are great characters in their own right, and will continue to develop through season 3. I don't want to say anything, but, like,
yeah, I want so much more of them, because they're great. Because, like, they're very much, you know, forces to be reckoned with, and they're dangerous, but they're also just a lot of fun to watch.
Their personalities are so
yeah
different, but, like, and kind of over the top. But yeah, like, I can, oh man,
like, yeah, if they weren't helping Azula, they'd just be
cool friends.
Yeah. Exactly.
But they are helping Azula.
Yeah. And I'm not cool with that, you know, move that, you know, deprives, you know, especially Katara of her water bending powers, and pretty much anybody else. I saw that. I was like, no, don't do that. And I got scared for a minute because I thought it was permanent. I was like, no, okay. So I'm glad that wasn't the case. But yeah, it's I will say, just to start off, that not that I wasn't enjoying myself for the first couple episodes of this season, but coming off of the high of the end of season 1. And by the way, this is the correct thing to do. I don't want to say that, you know, I don't want to misconstrue this, but this season did take, like, a couple episodes of sort of, you know, again, laying some groundwork and ramping up, but it ramped up sooner than, say, season 1. And once it was there, I was like, okay, it made sense that they did that. And like, when this season takes off, it was just like nonstop.
Yeah, I agree. Right. Like, this is so my personal favorite is season 3. This is a lot of people's favorite season. Like, and I will absolutely acknowledge, like, when you ask me what my favorite season is, it takes, you know, you think about it, and I'm like, but it's either 2 or 3. It's 3 for me, but, like, I totally get why this could be somebody's favorite season, because, especially as you say, like, when they get to Bossing Say and all that stuff, well, where Up is missing, and and all the different storylines that are crisscrossing throughout the city. That's just really good stuff.
Yeah, it's funny because like I can definitely see why, and maybe it'll be end up being the season that I'm most impressed with. I don't know. We'll have to wait till I see season 3. But like the way I feel about it is like there's so much about this season that is brilliantly executed. But at the same time, some of the content of some of the episodes, like I can see where, because season 3 will probably have such be such a dramatic climax, and in so many ways it'll probably be my favorite. And like I said before, the season goes so dark in certain places that I don't like. I have a feeling that it won't be in my top spot, but I think that honestly the way I predict feeling about the show is just that it gets better as it goes along.
Well, that's how I feel about it. And like season 3 is going to be similar. Like it's going to dip down in its pace a little bit at the beginning. But man, once it gets going, it's kind of crazy. There is no war in Bossing Say. Like this is a kids show where
that was so creepy.
Yes.
And that's why I don't know if it'll be my favorite, because of how creepy it was. But yeah, and I do want to say before we get too far, like it really saddens me that that Mako passed away after this, because like I really liked his performance in season 1. It's how could you not? But like that character and his vocal performance this season, it's one of those things, because that his voice means a lot to me, because you go all the way back to childhood and listening to the opening of the Conan movies,
right?
And so it really felt kind of weird, watching and listening to what I knew were his final performances, and just it's really sad, but I'm glad to have watched this and to take that in. And I see what you meant when you said that they do give him a nice send off, because in that episode where they have all the shorts and and his ends with for Mako, and it's and that was very nice, and it's and that was such a great little what would you call it, a short for him. And
from the Tales of Bossing Say, which is just a bunch of like vignettes, really.
Vignettes. That's what I'm
Did I just out theater knowledge you for a second? Hold on, somebody
it was just,
but I got there before you did, so like give me this victory. I scored a point against John in cinema stuff.
All right, go ahead.
Whew. Look, it's not a shutout. That's all I'm saying. I'm not getting you're not hanging a goose egg on me. Anyway,
it's the beard. It's slowing me down.
No.
See, I've got to shave, and then I'll be back on top form.
Yeah. Yep. See the people understand. The people get it. Mm-hmm. Thank you everyone for living up this moment with me. But like that song, if you can tell an Avatar fan, because all you have to do is say "leaves from the vine" and they will start crying.
Well, see, and when the first time he sings that song in that vignette, I thought like that is about his son, and so it made sense that then it came back at the very end of it, and yeah, it was.
And throughout, even that like 5-minute long short, you see the soul of the man come out. Like he helps every life he touches on the way, which is why, like, there was a meme that came up in the Slack some time ago about who is your comfort character, and people were like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And then I think it was Micah who said Uncle Iroh, and everybody was like, actually, Uncle Iroh. That's the correct answer, and there is no other answer. Like the guy is a legend.
And what's really great is I do love in that episode where we get Zuko's flashbacks, and you get this little bit of Uncle Iroh, as the general before, his son dies, and he's doing his sort of joking thing that we recognize, but it's about like the destruction of a city, and it was so kind of unnerving that he was so flippant about that, and it shows kind of the transformation that he went through. So it's, I found that really very interesting to see, and yeah, just like, and the fact that his entire thing this season is, trying to transform his nephew into, a good man, that's his very top priority, and to hell with, his country, his family, the rest of his family, anything, no matter what it means. If it means that he's branded a traitor, like he just wants to see, to help his nephew and to see him, on the path that's right for him.
And even beyond, I want to help my nephew, there is he doesn't just want to help, but he has been around long enough to know how to help. Like, yeah. It's so great that we're all human and we've all failed or what have you, but Iroh has really learned the lessons to be like, he's so wise. He's so wise. He knows what to say. He knows what to do. And most of the time that is to be the gentle enabler, and trying to steer Zuko in the path he wants him. But then there's this moment beneath Lake Laogai where Zuko finds Appa chained up, and he's about to try to capture Appa so he can get Aang. And Iroh shows up and he's yelling at him, no, you need to make a choice right now. And when I'm getting goosebumps right now just thinking about that specific scene, because
I do like the whole thing of like, what is your plan after this? It's like,
that's your problem. You never think these things through. And he has given him the business in that moment.
Yeah.
But it's because he loves Zuko so much that he's like, I don't have time to be subtle and passive like I so often am. You need to hear this because you're about to make a decision that I can't help you come back from. And just I get goosebumps thinking about that scene because of how dedicated he is to the purpose of keeping Zuko on a good path.
Yeah, and then Zuko goes through, an actual physical, manifestation of this, what he's going through, and what comes out of that before things go downhill again is the whole thing with, Iroh being able to open up his own, tea place and, everything. And I love the fact that Zuko then is all in with that, and he's supportive of his uncle. And there's always the people who say they want to stop watching Moulin Rouge at such and such time.
Right.
So as a happy ending, it's that's me with this. Stop it there where it's just
right.
Iroh and Zuko, happy, serving tea.
I encourage you to go ahead and keep watching. I'll just say that. If it didn't season 2, that might be the place to stop it. But season 3 is my favorite season. Okay. That's all, God, I can't wait. I can't wait for you to watch season 3. But okay, I'm not going to go off.
Here's the thing. I'm already we're jumping all over the place. So I'm already talking about my season 3 plans, and we're only 20 minutes into the stream. But But I will say that with season 2, I had kind of waited until we were closer to start up again. But then I had my trip last weekend, and so I had only been a few episodes in, and I actually started over just to get it all in at one time. It was season 2, I mean, not the whole show, but with season 3, like, I mean, I might wait a little bit because we're going to do Rebels next week, and so I need to put in some time for that. But at the very least, like right after we're done with that, I'm gonna start watching season 3 and just go at my own pace and fit it in, because I actually don't want to I don't want to finish up this show jamming it all in, you know, in a day or two for our next stream on it. I want to actually soak it in, and then if need be, I'll rewatch it. You know,
you'll try it again.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I just need to put it to you like this. There is a major event in the middle of season 3, and from that point onward, from the 2-part event until the end of the season, which is like 12 or 13 episodes, is my favorite part of this show. It's what it's been moving towards the whole time, and like, I don't want to, again, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I will say that there is a recap episode, as a lot of shows will do as they're moving towards their finales. They'll do a recap episode, but it is the best recap episode ever made. I
am really looking forward to it, because I even because there were I think there were 2 episodes this season that ran for longer, or they were multiple episodes put together. But so I was curious, and I looked ahead to next season, not looking at any descriptions because I didn't want to get spoiled. But I saw that the last episode is it's over an hour or something, and that made me really excited because I love extended finales. But yeah, no, I'm gonna definitely have a good time with the final season.
Yeah. So there is some mother believes that actor's name is pronounced Mako, like the shark. I've heard it both ways.
I believe
normally hear Mako because that would be the Japanese pronunciation.
Yeah, last time when we did the stream for season 1, I actually looked it up and listened to people actually say it. So I actually believe it's Mako.
Right.
But
that would be the correct Japanese pronunciation anyway.
Yeah. But I have said it both ways, because when I was younger, I just assumed it was Mako.
Yeah, but we don't mean any disrespect. We just want to call the man by the name he wanted to be called. I've heard Mako more than Mako, so that's how I pronounce it. But mad respect to the man, because
I mean, there's
Iroh will live forever.
Yeah, and well, I mean, yeah, Iroh and Mako or Mako himself, because like I said, there are certain things that stretch from childhood to adulthood, and it's sort of his presence in these mythic stories that has just had this really long lasting effect on me. So I think that for me is what's really nice about coming to the show maybe a bit later than a lot of fans have. Just the fact that here I am in my late 30s, and I'm still being touched by this great actor and his powerful voice, and the fact that I bringing up Conan again, not only was he in those films, but just the fact that those films opened up with his voice.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's got a great voice.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, It was really touching to me, and especially with that episode with the vignettes and the fact that his ends with for Mako. It just,
Yeah,
it
like
definitely got to me.
that's one of those moments that the whole fandom might not agree who's the best character or what's the best episode, or what kind of bending would you be, or any of that. But man, nobody keeps dry eyes during the Leaves from the Vine scene at the end. Nobody. So yeah. Let's move on to something else, shall we? I really enjoyed the other vignettes in that, because it really did go a long way towards us seeing the personality of the different characters more in a vacuum. I really like that we got Toph and Katara having the girls' day out and watching, because their personalities are not, they butt heads a lot.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and I think this is probably a testament to how people in our group and the fandom have kind of opened my eyes to certain things. I'm glad that we don't like each other, we're going to be in each other's face only kind of lasted for one episode, and then it moved past that, because that's kind of a trope that that we see a lot, and I'm glad it didn't last too long.
Yeah, and they continue to have very different thought processes and different approaches to things, and will continue to do so. But like they believe in the inherent goodness of the other, of their of each other. My man Sokka.
I did not know he was that.
Look, okay. The you know what? We're going to step away from Tales of Bossing Say episode specifically, because we brought up Sokka, and now is the time for me to say, like, do you see how, like, he's the ideas guy?
Yes.
I mean, he's the comic relief too, but he's the ideas guy. Like, our team has a plan, right? Something.
Yeah, it's the only thing is, like, he does sort of bounce between, like, here he's the smart ideas guy, and here he's the buffoon getting, who's the butt of all the jokes.
Yeah.
So
but why can't he be both? Like,
he can. It's I don't know. It's just sometimes it's a little much.
Well, they got, like, he's the sense of humor, funny guy.
That's it. I did love. How'd you get that mark on your forehead?
Which gave us, by the way, another meme from this season is secret tunnel through the mountain. I love it. It's so funny. Yeah. Like those.
I actually really love that guy, probably because he kept getting on.
Remind you of anyone? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah,
no. But Cloaked One is right. Sokka had the plan to find an eclipse at the library. That was his plan. And so Sokka is a great strategist. He actually really is. And he understands, he keeps the calendar, he understands the logistics. Now, occasionally he's an idiot in the moment, but he is a great big picture guy. And is smart enough to be deductive. There was some, I don't know, just, I love Sokka. If not for Toph, Sokka would be my favorite character. He's the first character I ever cosplayed. And
I don't think I'm going to get there, Stephen.
that's fine. Like, you don't have to.
I do like his character, and I recognize what he brings. I just don't think he's ever going to be my favorite. So, but that said, like I definitely saw what he brings to the group, and I did like the way his character has evolved over the course of these past two seasons.
He's super brave. Like, he's going to get stuck in, and he doesn't have bending powers. He's just a regular guy who's getting better at fighting as time goes on. Like, he's getting better.
Yeah.
But he was highly untrained at the beginning of season 1. He's been getting better, and he is always down to get in and mix it up against people who are firebenders and chi blockers, and so like that level of dedication and bravery is part of what I love about him as a character as well. Like, if Sokka was to go to Hogwarts, he would be a Gryffindor.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
But like in all the best ways. I love Sokka to death. I do. I love that character who's the underdog, who's out there fighting even though they're outmatched. They don't give up.
I really did like the bit where I think it's in the 3rd episode when they're in what's the Earth Kingdom with Boomy.
I'm sorry. What are you trying to say?
I was asking the Earth Kingdom with
Boomy. Boomy City is Omashu.
Omashu, yeah. When they go to Omashu and they're facing off against Azula and I'm sorry, I don't yet have the other characters.
May and Ty Lee are her friends. Yeah. May is the gloomy girl, and Ty Lee is the circus performer.
Yeah, I think it's Ty Lee who says, how are you going to fight without your bending? And I think Sokka says something to the effect of, I do all right. I really like that because, it shows, that even without any bending powers, he's really able to bring a lot, and he's very skilled.
Yeah. Yeah, this point is being made that Sokka is the Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I hope he's better in relationships.
That is accurate. That is accurate.
Well, and also what's really nice about some characters that come back this season.
They don't forget. They don't forget.
Yeah, like I like that it took what some of the episodes that felt like standalone episodes in season 1 and make you realize that actually it's building this very rich tapestry. Where, like, I'll be honest, like the Omashu episode from season 1 wasn't, one of my favorites when I was just watching that season. But now I can see how important that episode was, and and the fact that the show builds off of that, and we get to go back and to the city and we see Boomy again, and also in the episode prior to that where we get the sort of mythology of how the city was founded and all this. So yeah, I've been really impressed by which is a lesson I should actually know, because the same thing happens. You're right, Lee.
Xander is a low bar. We'll just say Xander is a low bar to clear if you're trying to be decent at relationships.
But I was saying I should know better, because in the show we're going to talk about next week, Rebels, it's very much the same thing. There's episodes in that show, especially in the first season, that will feel like standalone episodes, but they actually do, tie everything back in.
Good storytelling.
Yeah.
And like, you don't even necessarily have to know when you're writing season 1, you don't necessarily even have to know how they're going to tie in, but you just leave that thread hanging so you can pick it up later and weave it in somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like in Avatar they had broad strokes, But I've heard it said that people really liked Suki from the Kyoshi Warriors episode in
Yeah,
season 1,
she's great.
and so they brought her back for again for this season, and it was really cool. And they also they did a lot to develop Sokka's character in that episode, as he's trying to be super careful with Suki, not because she can't take care of herself, because he knows for a fact that she can, but because of the loss of Yue at the end of season 1, and he is still grappling with that grief on some level.
Yeah.
Because he couldn't protect Yue.
I was glad that they picked up that having cleared season 1, they didn't just sort of move on from that. It's it's still affecting him, what he went through with her at the end of season 1, and it's very much on his mind. As you say, they don't forget, they carry on, all these relationships and character arcs.
Yeah. And another interesting fact about that particular episode is they're escorting a couple who is expecting a child throughout that journey too. And we actually see that couple several times throughout the season. You may not have caught on to it at first, but even in Zuko alone, he considers attacking a man and taking his food until he sees he's feeding his pregnant wife and they're traveling, and then he moves on. And then once inside the city, you can see them riding on the train. She's even talking about it. And there's a point later on. Oh, I don't want to. It might be season 3.
Yeah, but speaking of Zuko alone, I loved that episode.
It is the only episode that does not have Aang or Sokka or Katara in it at all.
Yeah, it was just so great to focus entirely on him, and the fact that I was so engrossed in that just goes to show how well the show has developed Zuko as a character. That I was very much interested in that, and it was very much, it had classic Western vibes, of the the hero comes into town and nobody knows who he is.
Yeah, the mysterious stranger.
Yeah, and yeah, I loved it. It was great. And the role of the Mandalorian will be played by Zuko. Now, but yeah,
he'd make a good Mandalorian.
But yeah, now and another episode that I really loved, because it was also, even though they did have appearances by other characters throughout, the flashbacks and well, the whole episode was a flashback, but the one with Appa.
Appa's last days?
Yeah. I mean, I'm tempted to just call him the MVP of the season just based off that episode alone. I was in agony over what he was going through. It was God.
Yeah, it's crazy how much they can make you care about an animated creature that can just go, and it isn't even a little cute thing, which is usually the best way. Between Momo and Appa, I'm an Appa guy. Give me that big fluffy dude any day. I mean, he's going to put me out of house and home with trying to provide hay for him to eat, but yeah, Appa's a G. Momo is a pet. Appa's one of the team.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to any Momo stands out there that I just offended. But
it's so funny because I was spending time with Aziz and Ashay last weekend. You're familiar with the marble racing?
The what?
Marble.
Oh yeah,
racing.
I watch Marble League.
Yeah.
Like I watch it every week.
Well, they were telling me, like, I don't remember which one it was, but like, you know, which team or whatever you were going with, and then there was another one that was named like Momo. I was like, I can't believe that's not Steven.
No, mine is the O Rangers. I am also a fan of Team Galactic, but O Rangers are like my number one team. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
anyway,
those of you,
sorry. Side note.
Yeah, like most people are gonna have zero clue what I'm even talking about. But like, yes, I watch marble races and marble Olympics on YouTube.
Which, when they were first telling me this, before they actually popped up the video, I thought they were saying like Marvel, you know,
like
Marvel League. I'm like, yeah, I have no idea what that is. And then I saw it was actual marbles. I'm like,
and
oh, this is cool.
And they're like competing in races and different challenges. And yeah, I love it. It's fun.
We're just completely veering off.
Yeah,
the whole point of that was because I couldn't believe that something had a link to Avatar and that wasn't your team. But
yeah. I got you.
But yeah, okay, we can get back on topic now.
Honestly, it's because orange is my least favorite color, so I went with the O Rangers. I know, it makes perfect sense, right?
That doesn't track at all.
Well, it makes sense to me.
Okay.
Eric,
and I'm rather shocked to hear that, Steven.
Yeah, right. Yes, there are 3 generations of Starks in the chat. My mom is here, and my oldest daughter is also here. Hi, Elora. We played our first game of D&D with her yesterday, first session, and it was fun. We had a good time. But yeah, Avatar: The Last Airbender. What were we talking about?
I mean, what weren't we talking about?
Yeah, we're just kind of meandering through it. I think we were talking about Zuko alone and the married couple. I want to take a moment to talk about Azula.
Yeah, go ahead, because she's awesome.
She is so far ahead of everyone else. Like, it's not even funny. She fools all of Team Avatar, always has a backup plan, never stops, and is like laser focused. Oh, excuse me. Good coffee. Like someone who demands perfection from herself and everyone around her, and is, I don't know, she's an amazing antagonist because she's terrifying in how dedicated to the cause she is, and how skilled she clearly is as well. Like you can see in Zuko alone, because she's Zuko's younger sister, but she clearly outmatches him as a firebender.
Yeah,
clearly. And that makes her a truly terrifying protagonist because she's not holding back. She's not trying not to hurt you. At the end, it's not after Zuko alone. It's maybe immediately after that one where I think the episode is called The Chase, where Azula, May, and Ty Lee are tracking Aang and co. because Appa is shedding. And they split up and go in different directions, and Azula follows Aang. But eventually, everyone, did I say protagonist when I meant antagonist? Maybe. But anyway, everybody meets up in that abandoned town, and Azula is only kind of admits defeat when she's surrounded by all of Team Avatar plus Zuko and Iroh. So it's a 6 against 1. And even there, she's able to take advantage of that moment of distraction from Iroh and to do the mental math to know that if I attack Iroh, not only am I taking out maybe the most dangerous person here, but also distracting everyone else. Zuko will be distracted by that, as well as the Avatar, because she knows how good and pure he is. So she is using that as a weapon against him in that moment, able to do that mental math to in that split second moment. Like, gosh, she's so and use that to get away. Oh, so good.
Yeah. I definitely don't want to be on her bad side.
Right.
Which admittedly would probably be difficult, but
yes, Micah's. Yeah, you're with me, Micah. Like that is one of those moments that makes you go, she's cold, man. Also, her command of lightning is very, very frightening. Yeah, you should write a rap song about that, Cloaked One. I would listen to it.
Yeah, and one of the sort of scariest moments for me is when you see that she and the other two are disguised as the Kyoshi warriors. And at the end of it's one of the last episodes before the finale, and it's just like, because I had forgotten that, where that other episode had left off, that she was fighting them.
Kyoshi warriors.
Yeah, I was just sort of so excited at the possibility of Suki coming back into the story, and then the reveal. I'm like, oh no! Which, by the way, like, what the hell happened? I need to know that.
Right.
I'm very scared for what befell Suki and the other warriors. So, yeah.
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 Not an ideal situation for them to find themselves in. And man, how have we gotten this far in and not even said the name Longfang? Because he was a great sort of secondary protagonist. And he is actually, if you look into real world politics.
Wait, do you mean antagonist?
Did I say protagonist again? Yeah. Okay. He's a great secondary antagonist.
Yeah.
He bad guy. I don't know. I've done that twice tonight, apparently.
And of course, if you need a bad guy, hire Clancy Brown.
Right.
Because yeah, I don't typically trust that voice.
You shouldn't.
Yeah. But yeah, no, like, everything that he had going on was so disturbing and creepy. And
that is a real world reflection of some Chinese history, like the forced labor camps at a place called Laogai. I think Longfang, the Dai Li might have been the real name of like a cultural ministry, and it is sort of like the secret. It's the culture police,
Yeah.
They disappear you if you go against their communist propaganda. There's that type of thing, which is terrifying. But it happens in the real world, and how crazy is it that a show sort of not aimed directly at kids, but aimed at kids is going to do brainwashing and kidnapping and like propaganda and misinformation. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. I was just, that whole bit with, well, first of all, I was freaked out just by the ending sequence of that episode that sort of comes before the vignette episode, where it ends in a very dark place, where our main protagonists kind of leave off. But then you got that other section where Jet is underground being, brainwashed. And I was watching it. I was like, shit, they're really going for it. Yeah, I was in shock watching that.
Which is like, I think you're now realizing why people talk about this show, which is ostensibly geared towards children. People can say, no, don't worry that it's a kid's show. Don't worry about that. Like it's really actually just fantastic storytelling.
Which I wasn't completely, like I wasn't completely on board with that sort of conversation last season, because I came to really enjoy it by the end, but it's still, I think, felt like it was mostly geared towards kids. This season I very much see why there's deeper conversations to be had around it, because like I said, it was just kind of shocking that they went to some very dark places.
Mm-hmm.
But important things to be discussed, you know, when you're talking about a civilization at war, and to actually bring this before children, you know, watching, you know, a show. I think it's sort of amazing what they did with this, and that it didn't shy away from going to these places.
Yeah. Yeah, and like this line here, guilty Undertaker brings it up. We established that that Toph can tell when someone is lying due to minor physiological changes that she can detect with earthbending. Yeah, it is one of the saddest moments, because it's really, you know, I don't know if you can ask me, did Jet just die? And I think my answer would have to be, you know, it's really unclear.
I think at the very least he believes he will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It was really impressive what they did with him. And I went through many different sort of emotions with that character over the course of his episodes this season, because initially it was like, oh God, this guy again. And then like really actively rooting against him with, you know, when he was trying to uncover Zuko and Iroh, which is so funny because when you consider that with season 1, Zuko is the antagonist, and like, but those characters have been so well developed by this point that like I was like, no, don't discover them. I want them to be safe. And not just Iroh, you know, Zuko too.
Right.
And so to go through that, but then to have him taken and then subjected to that, I was like, oh no, this is really screwed up. This is not
what I was asking for.
Yeah. And then to get, you know, sort of, you get a sense of, you know, even though, you know, he was doing some not great things in season 1, so I don't know if you want to classify it as redemption or whatever, but to have the character definitely having progressed to trying to be better by the end, and then not sort of knowing what his ultimate fate is. So it's, yeah, I thought it was great what they did with the character, and versus last season where I was just like, this guy's a dick.
Yeah, Jet was made to be like likable and then really not likable all in one episode. But through his short arc in this season, we get to see this show tries a few different things to show us the realities of the complexity of surviving in a war-torn country.
Yeah.
Like the way, and that goes for Zuko's arc through this, and it goes for Jet's arc through this. we see it through a lot of what happens in Bossing Say and on the trip to Bossing Say. The Zuko Alone episode touches on it a great deal because, their oldest son is gone and then their father goes off to find the son, and this is what it is. And then in that same episode, Zuko meets a young woman who's been burned, and you feel almost like there's a connection between them. But then he steals her ostrich horns and leaves her there.
Yeah,
and that is another one of the saddest moments in the series to me, because there's a part of me that thinks he could have been happy if he just stayed there forever. But that wasn't his destiny,
Yeah, but he has to. But that would have been another instance of him sort of pushing aside his sort of deeper issues instead of what he still has to do, which is confront them head on and pushing away the things that he's thought that he's wanted, but hopefully ultimately he'll decide that he doesn't want that.
Right.
But yeah, it's oh yeah, the Judy's, yeah, that whole thing was and when the alternate Judy, pops up, I was like, no, I want none of this. Just again, building on the creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just the show has not it aged so well. Even like I can watch it again. I've seen it all the way through 14 times, and I can sit down for time number 15 and just be happy about it. I think I've watched it 3 times since lockdown started, maybe 4. It's because it's one of my comfort shows. Season 3 is my favorite still, which if you look at it through my eyes, I'm just going, as much as you love this, just wait, it gets even better, On that note, though, maybe we ought to do a mid-roll.
Yeah.
You think?
I have this feeling that you've been saving a particular discussion point for after the mid-roll, because we haven't really dived into a certain character.
You mean this one right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get to her. But you're right. Like, we'll get to her because I do love Toph. We kind of actually started with Toph a little bit, but yeah, we're gonna dig deeper. And we haven't talked much about Katara yet either, and she's got a great arc this season as well. But yeah, I digress. Mid-roll. This is the part of the live stream where we're halfway through. We still got another hour of conversation, but if you haven't hit the like button, I would appreciate it if you did that. If you are not subscribed to the channel, I would appreciate it if you did that too. We will be doing season 3 of Avatar soon, maybe a month or so away. But yeah, we'll be getting on to season 3, and then I might want to do a series of character breakdowns eventually, like a Sokka focused episode or a Zuko focused episode. The way we did for certain characters from The Expanse.
I feel like now that Steven's John's watching now, we can kick the doors wide open.
Wide open.
And I think we talked about this, but Nessie is going to be on for our season 3 discussion.
Yeah, because Nessie's a fan too.
Yeah.
She's not quite the rabid fan for it that I am, but she is a fan.
Okay.
And I know, but she'll be back next week, because next week we'll be talking about Star Wars Rebels. That's right. We're getting on to Rebels content. Animation August is going to bleed over into September. And then on September 12th, I have a slam dunk awesome guest lined up. If they can make it work, I'll be doing an I Know That Nerd with someone that will be, I think will be a very popular guest to have. I'll know more. Like, tune in next week, and I'll tell you guys who it is. But until then, till I have it more locked in, I don't want to curse it. Knock on wood. I've been trying to get this person for over a year, so yeah. But we do other stuff. We some of our content is based on timing. Some of our and then sometimes I'm not available. Sometimes they're not available. What have you. Um, and then you forget to ask. But anyway, fingers crossed, we will have someone very awesome on I Know That Nerd in 2 weeks. John, you got anything coming up?
Sadly not right now. I've got like ideas for my next thing, but I'm sorry. Something is going on with me today. But no, for now, I don't have my next thing planned, just because I've had some other stuff going on. I will at some point very soon be doing a wrap-up stream for the Bad Batch. Since I went ahead and did 2 other streams for it, definitely want to finish that up. So you guys can expect to hopefully see Christina and Brian back for that. And then I do want to continue on with my Pirates of the Caribbean streams with Christina. So yeah, there will be stuff on the horizon, just not set in stone just right now. But be sure to check out my last stream with Hannah from Game of Owns. So we talked about La La Land. And then the stream I did before that was on Amadeus, which I had a whole bunch of wonderful people on for. So make sure you go check that out.
Yep, those were both good. The Amadeus one was better. I watched La La Land, and it just didn't work for me. So I just listened and shut up.
That's fine.
There's my 2 cents. What else? I know there's something. Oh yeah, I have a gaming channel. I do gaming content. Not very much, and it's super like laid back stuff. Although I have considered getting a much more action-y type game. I have my eye on a game. We're gonna see if it goes on sale or whatever. I might get it and start playing that on stream. I've been playing Cities Skylines. We're building a city. It's relaxing and people hang out and chat a little bit. But yeah, it's called Here Be Games. Link is down in the description. Got to shout out our patrons, our lovely, lovely patrons. I've got the list right here. So our Patreon High Council consists of our alpha patron, Ridiculous Ed Tollett, as well as Lord John Bronsteen the Wise, Sixto Sounds, a.k.a. JP the Axe Grinder, and the Lady Leaf Underhill. And they are attended by the lords and ladies of the realm, Ryan Stavka, the Russian Quartermaster, Reflective Rambling, and joining new this week, our newest Lady of the Realm, Arch-Maester Emma. Thanks, patrons. We love you guys. Any Here Be Con news? Okay, so I am growing less hopeful by the day. That's all I can say right now. I'm going to make a decision probably by Friday. If our numbers don't look like they're turning down, and the thing is, the timing of it is just really complicated, because even if it turns down, like, that's no guarantee that it'll be down enough. And don't get me wrong, there's a huge part of me that just wants to throw caution to the wind and say, friends, come on, let's do this. Because everybody that's coming is vaccinated. But, the question is there news? There really isn't, because it's hard to say what the next 2 weeks is going to look like. And honestly, I kind of want to give it until the 16th of September, which is 30 days before the event. But like, that's late to be getting plane tickets. I get that it's difficult, y'all. I wish more people had taken taken it seriously. We got COVID numbers way down, and then people went out not masked and not vaxxed, and look, we're right back where we were. So wear a mask, get vaccinated, believe science. If you have a problem with me saying that on this show about something else, I don't give a shit. You can leave and unsubscribe, and I don't need you here. So yeah. That being said, we'll know something. I'm going to have to make a decision at some point, but I'm asking everybody to give me maybe 2 weeks, maybe a little more. We'll just see what the numbers are doing. And if things are looking promising at that point, we'll move ahead. And if they're not, we'll try to postpone it to sometime a few months down the road. All right, I digress. Almost got myself angry. Is there any stuff? This week's sponsor, we would like to give a shout out to our sponsor this week, Go Get Freaks and Vaccinated. That's our sponsor this week. All right. Onward and upward. Because I would like bring up whatever Nessie's doing right now, but she's having a rough go with her time right now. She's going to be moving across the country soon and all that stuff. So I know Nessie's not doing a whole lot of streaming. Anyway, yeah. Is there anything else that goes in the mid-roll, John?
No, I think we've got it.
I think
pretty much covered.
Join our Slack group. If you're not in our Slack group, like, you're just missing out. Like, we have a Zoom call that goes regularly. There's almost always 3 or 4 people on there. And we organize that through our Slack group, and our Slack conversations are, we got dozens of channels talking about all kinds of topics, and it's just like, it's a social media, but for the people who come here.
Honestly, it's the best. I think it's the best social media platform there is.
Right. Because it's literally just the HBD people.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about Slack. I'm talking about HBD Slack.
Yeah.
Period.
It's the best social media in the world. Everybody there loves me and loves you, and I love all them. So join our Slack because it's awesome. So, yeah, it's wicked fun. All right, that is it for the mid-roll. So let's talk all about it. My favorite character in the series. She probably has the least character progression of any character throughout season 2. She's got a little bit early on where she has to learn to work with a group.
But for the most part, she's just allowed to be
who she is.
Yeah.
And you're right. She is a badass from go. She's basically like an 11-year-old girl who is a prodigy at earthbending. A true prodigy, like able to do
so
things.
Much so that she's able to bend metal.
Yeah, like, I'm just gonna invent metal bending real quick.
And what does she say right after that? Like,
I am the greatest earthbender in the world, and don't you two dunderheads ever forget it.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah. I mean, yeah, like I said, you could really, you could really tell just from the moment she pops up, and it helped that, like, on my Blu-ray, the first disc of season 2, it's her picture on the menu, so I knew she was going to be a fixture on the show. But like, as soon as she pops up, you're like, this is going to be a great character. I could just tell right off the bat, and yeah, I continue to be more and more impressed with her, and yeah, and
like, she is who she is. She's unapologetic about it. She's not about to change for you. She might change, like, like her change in realizing she had to work better in a group was a process for her. But once she got there, it's like, okay, lesson learned. I'm part of this group now. I need to work within the group. Um, I'll just be a badass while doing that also. And it's so like we saw King Boomy doing some earthbending, and we saw a little bit of earthbending in season one, but she has such a distinct style as well. Like, so you probably know, I think we talked about it during season one. All the various bending styles are based on different martial arts. Like, firebending is based on Northern Shaolin, and it's a very sort of flamboyant, almost dancey looking style. And you'll notice they have a lot of these, very big movements. Um, Earthbending for most earthbenders is based on a style called Hungar, but Toph is Southern Mantis style, which is why she has such a different flow to her movements. But God, the way they viscerally tie like one of like a hard movement of her to rocks busting up out of the ground, it's just it's amazing the way that they do that, um, and it makes her feel really really powerful because shaking the earth is it takes a lot of power to do that, obviously. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm geeking out about. I love Toph. Like I can watch just a mix of her earthbending scenes, and I'm like, yep, this is all. I'm happy. I'm happy right now. Uh,
I just love that Katara is like, yeah, and really responds to positive reinforcement. And I'm like, Katara, she ain't gonna do that.
nope. Guilty Undertaker's got a great point. Like Toph is blind. That is a limitation to her in some very real ways in the show, but it is also a thing that lets her perceive the world in a very different way. Like I doubt she'd have developed earth bending sonar without being blind, because she wouldn't have, necessity being the mother of invention and all of that. She may not have ever learned that skill because it's not something other earthbenders seem to know, other than, well, I don't think any other earthbenders have shown the ability to do what Toph can do by sensing the vibrations in the ground.
Yeah, and I will say, there's a lot of great humor that comes from that. Not because like other characters are making jokes at her expense, but kind of the reverse, that
Mm-hmm.
she's saying something that is hilarious. Just like, I think it's soccer. It's like, I can't see a thing down here. And she's like,
Oh no, what a nightmare.
yeah, exactly.
The no, I'll bring it up in season 3 discussion. But yeah, like she is who she is. She's unapologetic about it. I'm blind. That don't make me useless. I can
Yeah.
still tear people apart. I just can't read. Don't ask me what color something is. But she out there doing the darn thing, which again, she is a character with a disability who is shown to be extremely powerful and competent, not having all the answers. Like she's not overpowered to the point of being able to just wipe the floor with anybody, but she's absolutely incredibly competent. Yes, great. Good stuff. And that's empowering piece of representation.
Yeah.
For blind characters, or for blind people. It's not like they can't enjoy this story too. And to have a character who is blind but is also like one of the most powerful characters in the whole series is a great piece of representation. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, it's just, I think what I'm finding is that one of my really favorite bits of this show, even though it sort of on one level feels a little superficial of me, but seeing these characters just sort of unleash their bending powers and sort of owning their opponents and I love watching, just like last season and this season, I really loved seeing Katara come into her own and control her water bending and and show people what she was made of. And similarly, I love watching Toph just like obliterate people with her earth bending, and especially like I was talking about it at the end when she's able to actually bend metal and get out of that cage, and then then put her captors back into it, and it's just really
I have to go to the bathroom.
It's so gratifying to see that.
Oh, and one of my favorite Toph moments, and it's a little one, but it's at the end of the season when they're trying to break in. There's a giant metal door there, and she like runs up and elbows it a couple times, and then she takes a step back and she goes, and then opens it up, and that finger kiss opens it up, steps through, doink, and Sokka comes through and says, "I'm so glad we added you to the group." And yes, exactly. Like, I love this. I love this woman. I love this woman. But you mentioned Katara, who also she had maybe a little bit more focus on her in season 1.
Yeah.
Which the same is true for Sokka as well. But that's because they expanded the coverage of Zuko. They gave us Azula and her friends, and we got Toph in the team. So that was a whole other personality. So we had to see how she bounced off Sokka.
Yeah, I think it was just by virtue of the fact that the ensemble grew this year.
Right.
And because she was such a focus of season 1, so you just by virtue of like ongoing storytelling, you want to make sure you're giving focus to to different characters along the way. And so for me, like, she was sort of the heart and soul of season 1 for me. A little less so this year, but I loved everything that she was doing and everything.
One of my favorite Katara moments was while they were lost in the desert, and yes, like Sokka's high on cactus juice, and Aang is super depressed because Appa is missing, and he hasn't had any time to deal with that trauma yet. Katara is still the one who's out there trying to keep everyone together and trying to move forward and trying to remain positive and hopeful. Katara continues to be the best. But even beyond that, they eventually catch up to the Sandbenders, and Aang finds out that they don't have Appa anymore, and basically the trail's going to go cold here. Finds out they put a muzzle on Appa, and he loses it, and he goes into the Avatar state, loses control of his anger. And, the Avatar state is terrifying, let's be honest. I wouldn't want to face an angry Avatar. But she walks into that whirlwind of sandstorm and is able, through the way that she cares and shows genuine love for Aang in that moment, it allows him to calm enough where he starts crying and he starts processing his emotion outside of rage. And to me, that's one of the most powerful moments in season 2. There's a lot of great ones, don't get me wrong, but that might be a highlight for me with Katara. A non-bending highlight, we'll say. Because her bending at the end of in that last episode of the season is also pretty freaking legendary.
Yeah, I mean, like, even though I don't necessarily think, like I said, she's a bit less in the spotlight this season. If I
Mhm.
had to give like the all-star, you know, like award for the season, it goes to Toph. Yeah. But Katara is still my favorite character
And
of
ain't
the
no
show.
hate here. Like, there's no hate here for Katara, not even a little bit. And then the ensemble that they put together, it just works. They're all very different, but they each have their place and their thing that they bring to the table. Well, as somebody who's a D&D player, I'm a D&D nerd, but to me, it's perhaps the perfect party. Sokka's the fighter, Katara's the cleric. I would classify Toph as the wizard and Aang as the rogue, and there is your perfect D&D party, which is why they work so well together. They bring different things to the table, but the gestalt of their party is something truly awesome to behold. Like when for instance, the drill episode, we see them working together using
Yeah,
earthbending and
they
airbending
each of
and
them
water.
are performing vital, sort of, parts of that plan. And
And by the way, Sokka's the one whose plan it is too.
I know.
Just saying, like he's the one that figures out we don't have to cut all the way through. He also figures out like how are we going to get the plans. I'm just saying, Sokka, ideas guy. You definitely want a Sokka on your team. I will not suffer your Sokka hate. I'm not saying you're doing it, but anybody out there, I will not
No,
suffer your
I
Sokka
do
hate.
not hate Sokka.
Yeah, I'm not saying you do, but if anybody out there does, I will not. No, I ain't having it.
Um, yeah, and going back to talking about Katara, also one of the scenes that I really enjoyed the most was that scene between her and Zuko near the end of the season. It's like you can almost see that they're sort of interrupted in the moment. You can see where things might have maybe could have gone a different way for Zuko, but at the same time, I'm really glad that moment with healing his face didn't happen because she needed that for Aang. And by the way, there's so much interesting stuff going on with that whole notion of you know what's right for Aang to choose to go with his love for Katara versus going for being able to master the Avatar state. It really delved into like a lot of Star Wars territory with the Jedi.
Well, Star Wars
And,
drawing heavily from the idea of chi from Buddhism,
yeah,
and this sort of dipping into that same well.
yeah. I hope Amy didn't say that. She's gonna be yelling at me.
Yeah.
um,
I bet she watches this eventually. And
yeah,
I know she loves this show too.
but yeah, dipping into the same territory, same inspirations. But and I like that Iroh says, "Tang, it's admirable for you to choose, love and your relationships over power," which. Yeah, which I'm like, yeah, listen to listen to Iroh because
Yeah, it's great
yeah,
that like you can have two characters who are both very, very wise, have conflicting ideas about what's better in that situation, and I think either one is a good answer. But I'm going to go with Iroh.
yeah, because even again going back to what we're talking about Star Wars, I've always been of the mind that with that whole thing that the Jedi the Jedi Council were wrong, and that attachments shouldn't be forbidden, that there can be strength from attachments, and so I was definitely on board with Iroh in that moment. So I was very happy to see that.
Yeah, me too. And that's one of those moments like just Guru Patik, which is the name of the character, he said a lot of very wise things. And he helped Aang immensely, and he tried to get him to the place where he thought he needed to be. But when Iroh hears about that, when you had to choose, I think I'm with Iroh. I think there's wisdom in choosing attachment to the people you love, as opposed to seeking phenomenal cosmic power. Although there are arguments that could be made about maybe he should have chose otherwise, because ultimately, in the end, he did.
He did, but look where it led him.
Yes, yeah. But that might be down to Azula being bloodthirsty more than anything.
Yes, but it's his decision that leads him to be, potentially mortally wounded there. But it's then Katara who's able to save him. His attachment. For me, that comes down on the side of attachment was the way to go.
Okay, well, the thing is, you're looking at that already knowing the outcome. I'm just saying, from the sort of from in the moment standpoint, Aang is the Avatar, and is therefore, on a spiritual level, a very unique being. He is supposed to be the go-between between the world of the living and the spirit world, and that has been established in the first season. They don't lean into it much in the second season, but he is in a unique position where he may need to choose things that are not best for Aang because they're best for the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and
like that argument can be made.
Yeah, the argument can be made. I don't know that I would agree with it and I keep jumping back over to Star Wars, but it's what I know. But it's like just the fact that so many generations of Jedi followed this strict dogma about what was required to create a proper Jedi Knight, but then you look at where things ultimately end up, and that actually brings about their near ruin, and then you have Jedi like Luke and like Rey who embrace their attachments and their love for others, and which is ultimately what helps them overcome the evil of that story. So yeah, I'm in the camp of don't turn away from love and attachment just because that's what endless amounts of people before you have said that's what you should do.
Yes, I just enjoy the sort of conversation that can happen about this idea. I'm not really married to one idea or the other. I think I choose attachment, but there's more to it than just. It's not black and white to me. And I got to say, Miss Man Jones over here dropping some knowledge bombs and pie in the chat. You come back every week, Miss Man, because I'll take some pie. What kind of pie is it? Because not all pies are made the same. And the thing is, also, I don't know where in the world you are, but when American says pie, we mean one thing, and when a British person says pie, they mean something else. So it's going to be It's going to depend on what the pie is. But I like most pies, whether they're sweet or savory. Anyway, I digress.
But yeah, and also the whole thing about attachment, especially when we're talking about Star Wars, the whole thing there is it depends on like what Miss Man Jones says about what you're attached to, but also like what that attachment will lead you to. If attachment means love and care and compassion for another person, rather than trying to control that person and to exert some kind of dominance over it. It's just sort of about how you approach it. So
yeah.
Anyway, but I do love that conversation was there this season. That they explored that, and that within the show you had these two different wise characters counseling and about what the right path was.
All right, are you ready for a slightly different topic?
Sure.
Okay. There is romantic tension between Katara and Aang and Katara and Zuko.
First of all, what's the age difference between Katara and Aang? Because
about 2 years, I believe.
Okay,
I believe
right.
he's 12, she's 14, and Zuko is 16. So it's about a 2-year gap between her and each of the other two characters that she's sort of romantically.
Okay, 2 years. Okay, I don't feel as awkward about it.
Right, but you do detect it, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have an opinion about what you like or don't about? And the thing is, like, there are people who feel very strongly. Here's one right now.
I mean, right now I'm not really on board with the Zuko Katara thing because there's only been like one scene between them where she wasn't like hating him.
Okay, you need to go back afterwards and try to watch it with an eye looking for it because it's there really almost from the beginning. Like, maybe not from a true romantic standpoint, but
I feel like I want to
back to the pirate episodes. I'll save you from the pirates. Like, it's there, but you're not into it.
But that's back when he's being so like.
But it's okay. Like, I am not like, just understand that it's there. I am not a shipper by my nature, but my number one ship in the whole season, basically probably my number one ship, is from this show. But it ain't Zutara, y'all. Hold on, where is it? There it is. I'm a Taka fan. Give me Toph Sokka. Okay. Give me that romance. That's the one that's
there is that moment where she's like, you saved me,
you
Sokka.
Saved me, and it ends up being Suki. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, if I had to choose between the two, though, like, I don't want Aang to come to hurt, like emotional hurt. So, and he's really, poor kid's really got it bad. So
right. Yeah, he do. Anyway, so we don't know, like, people don't read the chat too closely because you haven't seen how that story ends.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of opportunities. Anyway, it's good stuff. I love this. Toph and Katara. Yeah. Like, there's just so many great characters. I mean, like I say, I'm a Taka guy, but Totara is also very good. Oh gosh, we really kind of derailed my brain with the ship talk. Well, we got a little over 20 minutes left. What have we not talked about? And chatters also,
Um,
like, is there some point that we haven't talked about? One of my favorite action moments from the whole episode is in the or the whole season is in the drill episode when Aang is outside, basically trying to deliver the final blow to the drill to knock it out, and he carves the rock into a giant spike after cutting an X in the top to weaken it, and then he uses his air scooter to go up the wall, and he gets to the top, and when there's just this moment where he reaches the apex of his climb up the wall, and he turns around and he kicks in his or his airbending powers to start coming down the wall, and it's just I feel like I'm going 1,000 miles an hour down the wall, and the wind is like blowing my hair back. It's so visceral. I can feel the speed, and it is one of my favorite just split-second moments from the whole series. It just feels so awesome, and to watch him hit it and be
well, then
dodges
I
Azula's
was holding my breath because Azula like gets up and she fires at him. I'm like, no, 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 and then he makes him. I'm like, yeah, it's I was really happy that the show had me engaged so much that I was kind of holding my breath in at moments like that.
Miss Van Jones wants to talk about the political intrigue. We did touch on Long Fang a little bit earlier, not a lot, but it really is interesting that they have that the Dai Li are the real power. You have the Earth King, who clearly everybody's like, "Ooh, he's the Earth King," but he's a figurehead, as there have been many figurehead kings.
I was really shocked. I was really shocked by the fact that he was being kept in the dark to such a degree that he didn't even realize that there was a war. There was a war. It's like, dude, wake up.
Well, like he's so insulated.
You're making
like he never left the palace in his life.
You're making decrepit Theoden look, like he's alert.
Yeah. At least decrepit Theoden knew there was a war.
Yeah, exactly. But
and then, but it's because Long Fang. He drinks some of his own Kool-Aid. He believed that the walls would keep the firebenders out. Obviously, that didn't work. It turned against him because Azula turned the whole Dai Li against him because she's terrifying and nobody wants to stand up to her. And
he's not even interested in like hearing advice on how to wage the war on the outside. He's like he feels like he's in such control the situation to where that's not even the most important thing to him. The most important thing to him is exerting his control, on the city and just keeping everybody in the dark about everything and keeping power. And then that's really all, that kind of drives him. Like you'd think that even if you were this totally corrupt person wanting to keep all your citizens and the king in the dark about what was going on outside, you'd at least, if there was a crucial piece of advice so you could conduct military operations like outside the city, to like win, that you'd at least be interested in hearing that. But he's like, nope, don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah, I'm with you, Miss Man. The way that Dai Li had stone fists and were able to like shoot them as bullets or shoot them off and kidnap you. It's good stuff.
But yeah, I mean, like I said before, that whole just everything that was going on with the conspiracy and with just putting people in a trance and mind controlling them. It was so disturbing, and just like, but that's part of what made this season so good. Was
Yeah, I love it too. Like the Earth King pet is a bear, not a platypus bear, not an armadillo bear, not a rabaroo, not a ostrich horse, a bear, and that's so weird to them. Like they're turtle ducks, and yeah,
Which the fact that they found that so weird came off as so weird to me. As I'm watching, I'm like, what the hell? But no, also I want to say like what was really effective was that um, they went from the episode where all this stuff is kind of revealed of what's going on, the creepy mind control, the conspiracy, all this stuff, and then they go into the next episode is the tales episode with the vignettes showing like sort of day-to-day life in the city, and it all seems so like matter of fact, and I think that just added to sort of the creepiness of knowing what's keeping that facade intact.
it's the cultural ministry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it really was nice to get a really good look at the Earth Kingdom, both the city and the countryside, kind of in a tale of two halves. We see what it looks like outside Bossing Say in the early part of the season, and then within the city itself. And what a beautiful city Bossing Say is, and it is, it's fun. It was a fun location to.
I mean,
go off there.
it is, but at the same time, it's like just because of everything that was going on, it was like I said earlier, I'm kind of in agreement with Toph, like, worst city ever because like I just think like the stark contrast between it and the water tribe, the Northern Water Tribe, and
Yeah, it's
like
quite civilized, isn't it?
yeah, um, just like yeah, even if this city was you know beautiful, just the knowledge of everything that was going on, just it was so corrupt and just like I just wanted our characters to get out of there.
Yeah, but like you understand why they don't leave till they
Yeah,
find Appa, and then and by the time they actually catch up and find Appa, they're on to their next mission, which is the Earth King needs to know about what the heck's actually going on.
yeah.
Yeah, oh, splish splash, sling that slang. I'm always right back at you, like my boomerang.
Yeah, that was nice, and I do want to say I feel like that episode was like timed also to like when we talked you down about this being a show for kids, maybe it was placed there so that in case things were getting too dark, there's a bit of a reprieve for some lighter antics.
Yeah. So, sorry. Let me try that again. Splish splash, sling that slang. I'm always right back at you like my boomerang.
I love it.
Yeah, this is part of my leftover Sokka cosplay. I've had it for many, many years now. Thank you, Boomerang. Yeah, the haiku rap battle was awesome, and then how he adds an extra syllable and he gets thrown out by a bouncer because of it. It's so silly and ridiculous. But you get to see Sokka maybe at his most ridiculous, while also clearly like he's at least getting it. He's got the wits. He really does. He's ridiculous sometimes, but he's also very smart. You don't just rattle off a haiku off the top of your head like that. At least I don't.
I don't believe that, Stephen. I think you could do it.
Yeah. Well, I can if I think about it, but I'm also going to be like counting on my fingers. I am not an oaf. Yeah, all the vignettes are fun. Seeing Aang and his love of animals, and it's like we get the Iroh one, which is both uplifting and sad, but we also get the Momo one, which is the same way. And that's how it ends with him missing Appa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stavka is only 15. Yeah. And Katara's 14, I think.
I'm just I'm trying to think of specific things to talk about, but I really didn't enjoy this season. I think with season one, it was more. I really appreciated all the sort of groundwork that was laid, and then the last few episodes I was super into, and this season I think I was more fully immersed for a majority of the season, and
just ready to go.
Yeah,
ready to get on with it. I feel like you're going to like season 3 just as much, if not more.
Yeah.
Again, it's got a few episodes in the first half of the season where you might feel like these are closer to being filler, but even if you've seen the worst the show has to offer as far as filler, quote unquote, episodes go. So I think you'll still enjoy them because you haven't not enjoyed the more filler type episodes.
And in any case, I mean, these are 3 separate seasons, so I expect the beginning of each season to have some sort of ramp up time, so that doesn't really, but I don't think that's anything unexpected.
Yeah, and even in those episodes, there's still a reinforcing, or maybe even if it's not as much plot development, there's still a lot of character development that can happen in those type of episodes. I'm thinking of one very specifically, which is a more Sokka based episode, which will hopefully, it feels kind of like filler, but it's so important to his development as a character, and it does reverberate through his character for the rest of the season. But yeah, is sand bending in this season? Yes, all the desert stuff is sort of maybe the midway point of season 2. Yeah, and sand bending is kind of a neat discipline, and I also love how one of the things this show does so well is that it shows us Katara waterbending, and she's basically just moving a bubble of water, and eventually we see her freezing things, and then we see more and more uses of waterbending. We see early in this season swamp benders bending the water in plants in order to.
Oh wait! I can't believe we didn't talk about this.
Oh yeah, the Cajun. The Florida benders, I guess that might be the best way to put it.
Which I did was like, the timeline doesn't quite work, but did these guys take notes from Steven doing dwarf voices?
Oh, nice.
D&D.
That is not a Texas accent, though.
Yeah, I know, but still Southern, definitely Southern, and and it felt so out of place for.
But it's funny, and the thing is, like, it's funny, and yeah, we're all laughing at their accents a little bit, and then being, hicks or whatever. But like, they're still capable, and they do. We're meant to laugh, but we're also meant to find them. To not only laugh at them. Like by the time
I know, but just with the whole, the show being, so much. I know it's an American, production and everything, but it's obviously the art and everything is anime and
anime inspired.
And so it just it just felt really weird having.
I love the swamp benders. They're so funny. But I mean, but that's part of my larger point about they laid the groundwork early on for earth, water, air, fire. That's not the right progression. It's actually let's see, what is it? Earth, air, no, earth, fire, air, water. That's the correct progression. Um, but we see the basic forms of those early on, and we see more and more advanced and creative uses for it as the show goes on. We see it with the swamp bending styles. We see it with sand bending and eventually metal bending. You will even see some more creative uses of fire bending later on. Not as much for airbending, but Aang already does a whole bunch of cool stuff with airbending. But I've always appreciated that they kind of loosely defined the bending abilities and then continued to let them grow and expand in a natural way that doesn't feel like you see Toph metal bending and you're going, that doesn't make any sense. It makes perfect sense. And even
absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, I digress off that point. Reflective rambling is correct. Most of the animation work was actually done in Korea.
Okay.
Down to, I mean, maybe even all of it. There might have been a non-Korean animation house that did some small bit of it, but it wasn't much. Oh, yeah. It was almost exclusively. Anyway, that's Korra. Also, that pro Earthbender had a Russian accent for no reason. Let me tell you, it's because the pro bending is just pro wrestling, and he's the heel. Like he's an Earthbender, but he's like, oh, Fire Lord, and that's just a throwback to '80s wrestling, where if you wanted to play a heel, you could just, a communist in the '80s was a good bad guy to have, and it's just a nod to that. And I'm sure most of y'all know this, but the voice for the Boulder is Mick Foley, who is a very famous, long-time professional wrestler. And he was a fan. They tried to get The Rock, and obviously that character is sort of a riff on The Rock, and they wanted Dwayne Johnson to voice him, but couldn't get him at the time. But I think Mick Foley delivers a really great character. The boulder is going to bury you in a rock-a-lanche. So good.
Yeah, that's what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just have to go on about how great it was seeing Toph just, taking those guys out. So.
And girl got burns too. Do people really want to see two little girls out here fighting when she's facing off against Aang? Oh, thank you, Cassie. I appreciate it. I do get ridiculous with my voice sometimes.
Hey, it's not too late.
Right. I've done voice work for a couple of channels at this point. gonna be doing a voice for a dragon over on Voice of Geekdom's channel when he gets to parts that have Glaurung and the Silmarillion.
Weren't you gonna do a really unique take on?
There is a vocal technique called dragon breathing, which I'm going to do for that.
Okay.
Voice.
Oh, no, you weren't going to do a Texan dragon?
No, I'm not. But my dwarves in my D&D game, my dwarves are Texan, and it's fun.
Okay.
Okay. Last 5 minutes. Final thoughts. You know what? Actually, more than final thoughts. What do you think is going to happen, or what do you want to happen in season 3?
I suspect that my disappointment in Zuko won't be permanent just because of all the gushing I hear about him as a character. So
yeah, it's hard to avoid sometimes.
Yeah. So I'm happy about that. I'm interested to see where Aang goes. where he sort of lands at the end of the story, because I can kind of like it's weird because I almost wonder if he's being set up to sort of for some sort of sacrificial,
You
arc.
mean Zuko?
No, not Zuko, Aang himself.
Aang himself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just because I don't know, like just the vibe I get of that sort of character arc and stuff. So I'm actually curious about where he ends at the end of this story. Yeah, I don't know. I really want to find out what happened to the Kyoshi warriors.
Okay.
That's like a major thing because I felt like I was left hanging at the end of the season.
What do you think of their plan to attack during the eclipse? Because really, that's kind of what they're working towards.
I feel like it's in jeopardy now that Azula knows about it. They don't have any elements of surprise now, so and yeah, if Zuko is going to come around, like how long? I'm wondering how long does that take? Does he, make it home? Does he continue on the path he's currently on for a while before, realizing, his error, or does, he make a quicker change? And I don't know. I'm very interested to see in what manner all that'll play out. If that's the case, maybe I'm completely wrong and people like him because he goes down a villain. Who knows?
Because he remains true to his evil self.
Yeah. And yeah, and it's funny, I really don't have an idea for where Katara goes from here, but I'm just really looking forward to seeing, what path she goes on. Still my favorite character. I feel like this season was very much her being there as a support for Aang, and I'm interested to see, like, if her character arc maybe goes a bit further than that next season. If
I think you'll be happy.
Okay.
And to be honest with you, if Katara was your favorite episode or season 1 and season 2, I don't think it's going to change in season 3.
Okay.
But she's an awesome character, so I get it completely. Like, there's not a bad character in the series, though. Like, you could tell me any one of the core 4, or Iroh, or Zuko, or Azula, even, I would be like, I get it, because those characters are extremely interesting and compelling, each for different reasons. But like, my heart belongs to Toph on this one. She's blind, but that doesn't slow her down one bit. Like, she out here living her life.
But yeah, and then I'm actually very interested to find out. I'm looking at character names here just so I can get this right. But I want to see, like, what goes on with Ty Lee and
May.
And May. Yeah, I'm actually quite interested to see what their like progression character wise is, if they're just going to stick by Azula through thick and thin, or if there's a bit more to that.
Yeah, could be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. So yeah, I guess that's it. I'm just really looking forward to season 3, and like, if not for the fact that I know I've got to prep for Rebels next week, I'd probably be plunging right into season 3. As it is,
I got to start Rebels tomorrow.
I'll wait just a little bit, but I have a feeling that I'll end up watching that season twice before the next stream.
Yeah. So it's not on the schedule yet, but it won't be long, y'all. And we're going to pick a weekend when Nessie can be here. I think we have the next 3 weeks planned, though.
Which is unusual for us.
Yeah, it is. We're a little bit scheduled ahead. So next week is Rebels, Star Wars Rebels Season 1. The week after that is I Know That Nerd with special guest to be announced. The week after that is going to be it's going to be like, we're not reviewing a specific show or anything. We're having a discussion about canon, and the title I'm going with is Why Canon Matters and Why It Doesn't. So yeah, looking forward to having that conversation, because we had a pre-conversation about it on Zoom that lasted
Oh my God,
45 minutes, and it was great, actually.
it got heated.
What?
It got heated.
It got heated because we have things that we believe, but like, you know, it was a good one. It was good. I can't wait.
And in all honesty, like Kate and I have, we've had like a multi-hour like conversation about that in the past. So yeah, if we're not careful, that could get out of hand.
Well, I'm not sure if Kate will be on for that one, but maybe she'll be in the chat.
Yeah. Either way, it's going to be interesting.
Oh, Eric says he thinks you'll enjoy where me and Tylee are going.
Good.
I think you will too. Like, the show it's just so good. It's just so good. I can't wait for you to get to the end. All right.
Yeah, and then I'm actually really, honestly looking forward to then rewatching the whole series straight through. Because I think that there will be lots for me to pick up on after having taken in the whole show and going back.
Yes, Kate.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so I'm guessing Kate hasn't seen much Avatar yet, but yes, we were just plugging the canon stream to come, and yeah, and your name definitely came up. But we love you, even if you are a pain in the butt sometimes. But I'm talking to you, John, not Kate.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but speaking of getting to the end, I think we're at the end of this week's stream. Oh, gosh. Sorry, I did not mean to. Obviously, you know, when you talk for nonstop for 2 hours, your jaw can get tired. But yeah, I think that's it. Rebels next week. John, you'll let us know when you've got something new coming up on your channel. I'll be streaming on Thursday some City Skylines on the Here Be Games channel. Yeah, I guess that's it. You know, till next week.
Yeah.
Join our Slack group. If you're not in there, join, because it's basically like, what if we had a chat box that went all week, and we do Zoom calls over there too. Matter of fact, I might jump on Zoom and hang out for a bit. I might not do a lot of talking though, obviously. But yeah.
No, once again, and just I'm glad you talked me into getting into the show, because I'm having a blast.
Truly one of the greats, in my opinion. Truly one of the greats. All right, y'all. Well, we'll see you next week. Chatters, thanks for hanging out with us. We had a pretty good count the whole time. If you're watching this after the fact, thanks. I appreciate you all watching to the end. I see. Oh man, Cece, you're getting here right at the end, but it's always nice to see you. But we'll be back next week, But we love you all. We'll see you next week. And until then, you know what it is. Peace, and be excellent to each other.